Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 298, and I'm finally okay enough to do a podcast in 2022. So, Marc, of course, is here with me.
Okay.
So we did not intend for us not to have a show this late into the year. After 2 years of avoiding it, got COVID. Thanks to it looks like my daughter going over to a friend's house and then bringing it to us. So, unfortunately, my mom got it the worst of all of us. She actually has pneumonia right now because of that. But she's starting to get better. She's technically negative. All of us are at this point. Um, I've had like terrible. It's weird. It's affected all of us. I never got a fever. My daughter got 103 fever at one point, and my mom got a fever. My grandma never got anything, and she's the oldest one at 83. Um, I just got really bad, like headache, fog, and fatigue, really bad, and sore throat. And that's kind of and then the fatigue and headaches and the head fog have continued on, which have made it really difficult for me to want to sit here and do this. Not to mention, I had to work throughout this entire time because my job did not want to give me leave. They just, you can use your PTO if you want to take a few days off, but you can't have the whole 10 days off or whatever. I mean, you can if you want to, but you're not going to get paid.
Dude, that's when you should have gone in and infected everyone.
Yeah, so, I'd already been working from the house because of the car accident. And it was funny because it was like right when they had started telling me, hey, you need to come back in, whether you have a car or not. You got to figure out something. And I was, trying to figure out the logistics of this because they still don't have a police report for my accident. That's what happens, I guess, when you get hit by or hit police, whatever. And so, I'm now having to share a car with my girlfriend to be able to go to work again. So I have to go back in on Thursday. So that being said, just wanted to let y'all know off the top, we are going to have an episode on Wednesday. Won't be a regular episode. It's going to be a special episode. I'm sure if you have been watching any kind of video podcast or podcasts in general this year, it seems like more and more people have been starting to do the Fantasy Critic video game draft. Kind of Funny's been doing it for a couple of years, but more podcasts have been doing it. And Randy has always been, since they started it, really been being like, oh man, we need to do that. We need to do that. It'd be so fun. And finally, we made a league. It's the Video Games to the Max League. So if you're on the Fantasy Critic, I'll put a note in the description there if you have no idea what it is. It's basically like fantasy football, but for video games. But you're not trying to, it is Fantasy Critic, not fantasy monetary success or fantasy sales. It's Fantasy Critic. So, there's so many other console warriors out there that love to use Metacritic as a way to. Xbox has got 82 and PS5 has got 88 from all these games that come out. So we're doing that, but basically we're trying to predict what games you think are going to score the best with Metacritic or OpenCritic. I think it's the one that they have to deal with, actually, which I prefer. They have way better ratings. It's a more varied amount of writers and content people that get to be on OpenCritic as opposed to Metacritic. But still, so that's the point, is you're trying to guess what games will do well critically, and we're doing a standard league, so you have to pick 7 on that day. So each one of us, the 5 of us, Daniel, you're picking, I think, offline, but he's going to be giving us his thoughts through text or whatever. So the 5 of us will pick our games. You have to pick 7 that day, and then 15 in total. And of course, once people start picking those, we'll update you here. So yeah, if you want to go follow us on there, I'll put a link in there, and you can go follow the how we're doing on the Video Games to the Max League. So enough of that. Of course, if you this is your first time listening, you can listen to us on anywhere that there are podcasts. Pretty much, anywhere that you listen to podcasts right now, we are available there. We're also available on YouTube on demand, or you can watch us live on Twitch whenever we are actually doing the show. So that being said, this has been we're like a week away from where you kind of start really having I guess some of the games that are going to be, I guess, talked about for January coming out, and we'll talk about a few of those in the news as well. But have you been playing anything?
Yeah, I've been playing a good thing or a good amount of new and old games. Which one do you want to hear about?
Well, first of all, I know you had your trip with Jens. Unfortunately, you had the Final Fantasy concert.
It got canceled like the day before.
That really sucks because you know, on the Outer Haven Discord, there was one of the guys was also going to a Final Fantasy concert, but I think he lives in the Northeast.
Yeah, I think they're still going on. It's just, or some of them
he got to go to that one actually went on, but it's crazy that the one you had gone all the way there to go visit Jens for got canceled.
I left on the 28th of December, and it got canceled the 27th, and it's like, cool.
Oh man. At least you got to still go hang out with them, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean that was that was probably like the main reason I wanted to go down there. Like the concert was going to be cool, but like it wasn't like the most vital purpose, you know.
Right.
So yeah, we hung out for like 6 days, met his wife, watched a bunch of movies, saw Spider-Man, went to one game store. They have like, I don't know how big your town is. I think you live in like Homestead or somewhere.
Right.
Like
We're really close to Miami, so.
Like, do they have game stores out there or like used DVD stores?
Actually, halfway between, like where in the middle between where you start getting to Miami and Homestead, there's a few. Yeah.
So like in Atlanta, there's like one, and it was kind of even off the beaten path, you know. He doesn't live in Atlanta proper. He lives in a suburb, I think, called Sandy Springs. And there's like nothing.
Oh, there's nothing. Okay.
Oh, there's a Second and Charles, like, I don't know, 20 minutes away. I don't know if you've heard of that place. That's like a used media store. And there was like one game store, but two other ones I was looking at were already closed or like, you know, shut down.
Right.
And the other, he knew like one other Second and Charles. We went out there, and it was also gone.
Oh man.
But I brought my analog pocket down to show it to him, and he really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that. Yeah, there's not like that's kind of probably been rough through the pandemic, just having that.
Yeah, I think these stores. I don't know. I think they closed down before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
It was funny. Well, one funny thing is he was trying. I mean, if you think I have a lot of consoles, he has probably as many consoles as I do.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find a SNES that I think was modded for like HDMI or better video quality. And he was digging around his closet. He took out two other Super Nintendos that weren't the correct one. And then he took out a box. It was an Xbox Project Scorpio box, like the Xbox One. And he was like, "Oh, maybe it's in here." And he opened it up, and it was an Xbox One. And he was like, "Oh, I thought I sold this." Like, he just like randomly found it.
Wow. I love that he was like, "Oh yeah, I thought I sold this."
Yeah. And I was like, "Well, hey, I'll take it off your hands. You know,
right.
I can give it a nice home." He also had, he told me this a while ago, so I took a few. He has at least, he had at least 12 copies of Resident Evil for the GameCube, sealed.
Yeah.
Because I think he said he bought them at a store that was like liquidating them. So he bought them for like $5 a pop back then. You know, this was like 20 years ago, or like, you know. So it's like, yeah, he has like 12 of these things. Or he had 12. I think I took like 4. Yeah, we didn't play any games. We just watched movies.
Well, hey, I mean, at least that's the point of hanging out. You don't always play games. I had the same thing when I would hang out with my buddy. He didn't always. We would play Walkman for a little bit, but he wanted to go do other things.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he to his credit, he actually has a lot more Game Boy games than I do. So he liked that Pocket quite a bit because the screen's on it it's really nice. And he was like, "Oh, I'm really glad I bought one of these." So I can make sure to get it. Oh, and he'll hate me for saying this. The funniest part, and I'm not kidding when I say this, he has tried to spend, I should say, $10,000 on audio equipment.
Damn.
He bought a $4,500 pair of headphones.
Why?
And it's like, my car cost $2,500. Like, you could have bought my car and then you had $2,000 left over.
Jesus, I'd love 45. I could go buy a used car right now.
And then he bought a so that these headphones he thinks are like the bee's knees, like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Of course. And then he bought a $6,000 DAC, a digital to audio converter.
Right.
And this is what you plug the headphones into to get more power. He's becoming like Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement. He got the DAC when I was down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to bed. I was in bed. And he was upstairs setting it up, and he woke up the next day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it broke within 10 minutes."
Oh my
god! And it's just like stupid, like audio computer that like, yeah, he said like it worked for 10 minutes, and then it started getting like garbled, and then it basically just like broke, and then so he returned it, and I think he got like a credit from the company, like the store. So then he bought the headphones, like because he already ordered the headphones, but he's like, well, I can cancel my order and just use the store credit for the headphones.
Right.
He got the headphones, I think 2 days ago, and they also broke. He plugged because it has like a left and right cord for the actual like cups, and he plugged the cords in incorrectly. I mean, that shouldn't have been a huge problem, but when he went to pull the cord out, the left cord is in the right speaker or right headphone, and right was in the left headphone. When he pulled the cord out, it pulled out the adapter inside the headphone or inside the bud or the cup.
Yeah, right.
The thing was just like glued in there. So that's been funny to me.
I thought Mike spending $6,000 only for the thing to not work in 10 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. And he's on this stupid quest to get the ultimate audio experience that's never going to be fulfilled. So it's funny. But
why? Just because so he can?
I don't know. He wants to go deaf apparently, or I've yet to understand. He's like, oh, it sounds so much better, but it's like, okay. Unless it sounds 500% better, as opposed to 2% better, which it actually is, it's not worth it. He did give you a nice pair of, I think it's Grado headphones. Yeah, they're like $250, and hey, to most people, they would be absolutely 100% fine. You don't need a $4,500 pair of headphones,
right?
But I bought a copy of Donkey Kong Land 2 down there for like $10 because it has no label.
Yeah.
And then I got back, and like the next day I got back, I picked up some stuff from a friend because she drove it, like she delivered it. And the day after, then I bought an N64.
Damn. All right. So you just keep getting all these.
Well, I'm finally putting that flash card I bought for the N64 to work.
Oh, that's fair enough.
I've been playing Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. That game's all right. I see now. I mean, I haven't played an N64 in at least 20 years, or at least 15.
Yeah.
I see now why people back then didn't like that controller as much.
Well, yeah, I told you that when you kept saying.
I still don't mind it. The only problem I have with it is its size. Like, I mean, I have an adult hand now, So like it's just like a hair too small. If it was like 10 or 20% bigger, it'd be really good. But it's still better than the GameCube controller.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably better than the Duke, I would say, as someone that's the Xbox controller that we had with the original Xbox.
Yeah,
For
I
a
have
long
one of those
time until they
too.
made the smaller one.
Yeah.
And then once you got used to the smaller one, it's like, oh, okay, this kind of feels a lot more comfortable. You didn't realize it was that uncomfortable until you had the option.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember not wanting any more of those. Not to mention, like the 64 was, from what I remember, was the first console, because I didn't have my PS1 long enough to remember having different, like for the PS1 I never really needed to have a knockoff controller. The 64,
Right.
because we actually had the 6 kids in the house, so
Yeah.
we had to have the 4 controllers. So to save some money, my mom got some of the knockoff controllers,
like the Interact controller. Yeah, some of that.
There was this one that was like super fat. It was like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like even bigger than the one that you normally get.
Yeah.
And it would like cramp your hands like that, but it was like, I think like $15 cheaper. So we
Right.
had 2 of those instead of getting 4 of the actual official 64 controllers. So yeah, I mean, nowadays, you get used to, you might as well just buy the official ones if you're going to buy other controllers at all.
Well, nowadays, like they don't make cheap controllers for like. There's no like cheap PS5 controller.
For the Switch, there is
the Switch does have alternatives that are cheaper,
those
but like
cord controllers that are like a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
but nowadays, like Sony and Microsoft, like if you buy like a third party controller, it's more expensive.
Yeah, or I mean, it's what, like $10 more less expensive. It's like it's not really worth the price difference you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that.
So for old stuff, I'm playing Zelda, which is cool, and I picked up Mortal Kombat 11 finally.
Okay.
And I played through the first story mode, the main one. I got like the whole ultimate bundle thing, so it comes with like all the characters. That game is nuts. Like the story mode is it's more insane than before because they just spent so much time and money on like the story that's just, it's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's just not needed whatsoever.
Fair enough.
But I liked it, and it was pretty challenging. Like, but worth it. Yeah. And then for new stuff, I finished Record of Lodoss War, whatever the hell the stupid subtitle
Deedlit
is.
in Wonder Labyrinth. I just posted the review yesterday, so I'm very familiar with that name.
Yeah.
Right about now. So, it's yeah, I agree with you on the just let's name it one thing.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to keep saying that entire long ass name. But it seems like you like it. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not the best Metroidvania ever, but it for 2 or 3 hours, or 4 or 5 hours, it's perfectly fine. It does have a pretty cool like Ikaruga mechanic where you like have basically elemental energy. You have to keep swapping between 2 of them. So that was cool, and I did get Chorus, that space game, and I like that, but I think I kind of broke it because I got gear in the game that makes me like very hard. Like I can take down enemies very quickly, and I'm still pretty weak, but it's just kind of a weird imbalance.
Right.
But it's pretty good. I think I might like Everspace 2 more once it actually fully comes out. But
yeah, I was gonna. You really wanted that when it first came out, so you're not feeling.
No, I like it, but like, I'm not sure if I like the story or like the voice acting is very. I wouldn't say subpar, but very just kind of mediocre.
Oh, okay.
And there's also a lot of it, so it's like I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna say they really did make a big deal about that story.
Yeah, but the actual like flight is really good.
Okay.
My only problem is like I said, your ship is like very weak, and it's like, well, I can buy hull upgrades and like shield upgrades, but like I'm locked by like my level, I think, and I have like 30,000 credits, and I'm like, what do I spend this money on then? Because like like weapons are very cheap, and like like other like ship upgrades are like pretty cheap. It's like I just want to get a stronger ship, and I can't do that because you won't let me. So that's not fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Yin and I, like a few nights ago, we did play more Demon Souls, and we finally agreed that playing a melee or playing a magic character in the game is really good.
After all this time
we were like laying waste. Like he was like, yeah, we were going to like one level. He's like, oh, this level was so hard when I was playing a melee character, and fighting this red knight took forever, and we just like wasted him in like 2-3 hits. And it's like, wow, this is a lot less anticlimactic. I was like, yeah, that's why I don't like melee characters in these dumb games.
Right.
I don't want to get close up to these enemies where they can hit you.
Yeah, for sure. No,
no,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, so that's been about it for me. Like Metroid, and I played Metroid off and on Fusion on the Pocket, which is fun. But yeah, just Chorus and a little Mortal Kombat. There's not a ton out right now, as you might know.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not. So there's I think one game that I'll talk about when that came out, a couple days ago, and there's the rest of the stuff is coming like next week, and then obviously Pokemon at the end of the week. So one game that I did play here is I played both the games actually because I had found Heaven Dust on a sale.
Yeah.
For what is it? It was I think like $4 or something like that. And I was like, oh, it's like a little survival horror, kind of like Resident Evil thing, and like why not, And so I was like, okay, let's go for it. And it really is just like one of those like love letters to a genre or to a game series that came before it. They make a point to let you know that even in the second game of saying, yeah, we're telling you that we love Resident Evil that much that we went ahead and made these games. Yeah. So I played through part of the first one, and then I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and just review the second one because it came out on the 6th. Much better done. Like you can definitely tell like a difference between going from Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 2. A lot more going on, a lot more zombies, a lot more like puzzle solving, and just a lot more risk involved. It does, like, I actually had to run into the problem where I ran out of ammo and stuff like that, where the first game you like really never run out of it. And then also there's no like, the second game actually has boss fights and stuff like that. The first game, you're just killing random zombies that show up. And then there's a boss fight at the end that doesn't really matter. You can actually get by it and not even have to worry about it at all. But I really like just it's top down, it's isometric, but they do a good job of just kind of taking what made those old school Resident Evil games, and it's a Chinese publisher, a Nordic developer, and I thought they did overall good job of. When I got to like basically the last boss, I was stuck on it for a long time because I was out of ammo by then. But it does a good job of your shotgun and your handgun. They actually give you ammo when you run out. Like the other ones, your machine guns, basically you're committing suicide if you try to use that against that boss. But there's a heavy pistol that's really good, but that one they don't give you the bullets for. So when you run out of bullets for that thing, you have to keep alternating between the handgun and the shotgun. And the difference of space that you have to have kept messing me up. So he'd kill me right before I would get to the end almost every time, and I finally beat him, I think, after like 15 or 20 tries. But it's cool because they each have like their own way that they end, and it's a I appreciate sometimes when indie games take things that already exist and like adapt them into their own way. Speaking of another indie game here that doesn't come out till next week, but they were kind enough to go ahead and give an early look at it, or like let me have an early look at it, was Gravity Chase, which it's out on PC and Xbox. Don't know if it's going to come out on, or well, it's not out yet, but it will be out on PC and Xbox. Don't know if it's going to come out on PlayStation or Switch at some point. It's not any kind of graphics heavy, so should definitely be able to come out even on Switch. I'm going to go ahead and say thanks to Keith at the Outer Haven for the gameplay. I just haven't wanted to really hook up my capture thing to take video myself. I probably should do that here before I get done playing the game. But it's basically like F-Zero. It's an F-Zero. Since Nintendo doesn't want to make F-Zeros because they say that they don't have a reason they don't have any kind of new twists that they can put on the game in order to make it to where it's worth it to them to make an F-Zero.
And if they keep cranking out Donkey Kong games.
Yeah, exactly. And keep cranking out anything else at this point. But it's really cool. It has a whole 360 rotation as well. It's not just going side to side or whatever. So you can, if you're one of those that gets motion sick, if you go too fast, there's times where it'll actually make you go in a circle crazy and you'll lose your spot. So if you are kind of one of those that gets motion sick, I would be careful playing this game. But it's really fun. There's not any kind of, it's built more for local co-op. So even though you do have like a leaderboard when you play by yourself, and it'll kind of show your points throughout as you keep playing tracks, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just kind of there, right? To just kind of tell you where it is. There's not any kind of like campaign or kart racing, or like a Mario Kart kind of thing. It's just there's tracks and there's 3 different kinds of modes. There's the regular racing. There's the combat mode where you can actually shoot down the other AI or your friends, and then there's eliminator, which after every 30 seconds they eliminate the lowest placing person until you get to the end. So I think I just have to keep unlocking the next track. You have to gain a certain number of points, which you then use to upgrade your ships. So, and there's I think like 15 ships in the game based on 3 different speed tracks. So there are a lot of ships. So if you end up liking the game enough to want to keep upgrading a bunch of the ships, there's probably a lot for you to do there. But I think for like people that are achievement hunters or whatever, it probably won't take you that long to unlock everything. And then you may not have a whole lot to do. But I think for being an indie game that really wants to I think it's much better than that. I forgot what it's called. It came out early on the Switch's life cycle, like RPM or something like that. It was also sort of like an indie F-Zero. I think this is way better than that is. So as far as like trying to have games that are trying to ape that, I mean, it's not Wipeout or anything, but I think it does a serviceable job. And this gives you that game, and it's only like $12, so it's not. It's not expensive either if you want to if you're itching for an F-Zero and want to have that moment, so there is that at least. Anyway. So, I mean, and that's pretty much like it for, well, not, I think I should mention, I played the Anacrusis as well that hit that hit Game Pass. It's technically in game preview, so it is early access on PC, game preview on the Xbox, and it definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
It's I played with randoms. It's a multiplayer like Left 4 Dead game. It's from Stray Bombay, which they're developers that worked on the first 2 Left 4 Dead games. So you can totally see where they're coming from. It's very much the same kind of thing. There's hordes of aliens that come and attack you. You're on this like spaceship in the 1970s. So everything is sort of like that 1970s look with the colors.
It's a documentary game.
Yeah. The characters are, you have the African American guy with the afro. You have a Asian lady, like a sort of like Latino-ish dude, and an African American female with also like an afro. So they went for that aesthetic. I don't know if there's going to be other characters when the actual full game releases. So, but right now, that's who you can play as. They have special, like big, whatchamacallit, big boss characters that show up. And they kind of, give you a problem or whatever and make it an issue for you to get through. I had several times where one of the characters died and you had to revive them or whatever, so had that is, I mean, I thought it was fine. You could definitely tell it's in game preview, though it doesn't feel very good to shoot anything. And I think that's I don't know, that's a problem. When you're trying to judge it based off of what it is, and the pistol is the terror. I mean, so I of course it's not really great that I'm coming off of playing Halo, which has an awesome pistol, which is the weapon you start off with along with the assault rifle. This starting weapon is awful. Like, it doesn't feel good to shoot. It takes forever to shoot. When you finally do get other weapons, like it's fine, but I don't know. I just didn't find it that fun. The aliens kind of look cool, especially like the grouper and some of the other, like the flasher kind of thing, the special ones do, but I don't know. They got a lot of work on that still. There's still chapters they have to add. They're still working on it. But yeah, that's what I would say. That's one of those things that Game Pass works great for, is you get a game like that that's for multiplayer, but it's not necessarily finished yet, and you get to try it out. And if you're looking for something like that, I guess this fits that mold, but I wouldn't recommend it. Go play Back 4 Blood or something else if you want a Left 4 Dead kind of game that's made much better.
I mean, that's not the greatest game.
Well, but at least that one's fun with your friends, and you can go play that solo as well if you want now. So, but this is just not, it's not up to that quality right now. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and discuss the news here that has been happening. There's quite a few things from in between since the last time we've done a show. Again, if this is your first time listening, we did do our top 25 of 2021 already, and we gave out our personal top 10s on the previous episode that's on the feed. So if you subscribed, you can go listen to that, because there's still a lot of people that are doing those at the moment, especially right now since we don't really have a lot of games coming out. But let's go back in time a little bit and talk about, you mentioned the Xbox One earlier, and the PS4 is still around. Well, the PS4 is going to be around at least for another year in production, because you still got some cross-gen games coming out. You got Horizon Forbidden West, you got maybe God of War Ragnarok. We don't know for sure if that's coming out this year. We do know Horizon's coming. Sifu's coming. Week before that. We know that. What's the other big Sony game that's supposed to come this year? There's another one. I keep saying it in my head, and then now when we're doing the show, I can't.
Isn't Gran Turismo or no?
Yes, Gran Turismo. That's it. So we know Gran Turismo is coming in March, I think, and then Horizon Forbidden West comes in next month. So you know for sure, at least those two, along with the other third-party stuff, is still going to be viable for the PS4 for another year. So in order to mitigate some of the chip shortage and everything else, we're going to get PS4s for at least another year, where by this point they would have stopped production. Well, Microsoft apparently, at first they had said they were done with producing the Xbox One X because obviously there's a Series X now, so they didn't want to create confusion, and they had stopped producing the Xbox One standalone digital edition, the SAD, but the Xbox One S was going to keep getting made. Well, actually they had just stopped everything that wasn't the S and X completely without telling anyone, which probably smart on their end, so you don't have much confusion, because that was a big deal with the Xbox. Was, man, all these names are so close to each other. How many people are going to go and buy an Xbox One S or One X and have the wrong one? So I guess they mitigated some of that with that, but so that's it. There's no more Xbox One, at least, other than buying it on the secondhand market. Do you think this is a smart move by Sony to just gonna produce the PS4 still?
There's two issues, kind of. One is it's not like PS4s are easy to buy. Like one of the articles is talking about, like, you can't really just go into the store and buy like a new PS4.
Right.
You have to like order them from Sony, I think. And the second question I have is, like, what chips or what components are in the PS4 that can't be, like, couldn't also be used in a PS5? And that's not, that the way I say that is kind of dumb, but it's like, well, if you're using these parts for PS4, not all of them obviously are in the PS5, but like, what's the what's the material cost? Like, wouldn't it be better to use it in a PS5 if you could?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some kind of where it's not affecting it the same way.
Yeah.
In order for them to say, oh, confidently, we're going to just make more PS4s and not have the same problem that we're having with the PS5 at the moment.
Right.
So I think that's the thing is, at some point but are you doing this to try to get people to just be in your ecosystem, period? Because it's not like you are providing, I guess, free upgrades to the PS5 version for most of these, or at least, they're $10. So in a way, if you buy it now, you can also get the better version later, but you still have to buy the PS5. Like, if you're saving up for a PS5, why are you going to go and buy the PS4 if you don't have one already?
Right.
When you might as well just use that $300, which right now is $300, the same as the Xbox Series S. Why are you going to use that $300 that you could just put to the PS5 whenever it does become available just to go buy a PS4?
Yeah. Well, one fun thing I did a few nights ago was hack my PS4.
Discover anything there?
No. I mean, there's a pretty easy jailbreak for the PS4. But you can put games on it, so that's kind of fun. Like any PS1 or PS2 game on it.
All right. I mean, fair enough. I just wonder at some point, are you going to price drop the PS4 again to make this more viable for people? Because, yeah, you can't play Horizon or God of War or Gran Turismo on Xbox, but it's not a next gen system. Technically, at some point there will stop being games made for the PS4, and then you will have a system that can no longer run any more new games. You know, I think it's even less viable if you don't make it you don't do a price drop. I might as well go buy the, another system. I can go buy the Switch right now for that as well.
Don't worry, they'll still be cranking out Just Dance and Madden games for the PS4 for years on end.
I'm sure they will, but I understand what they're doing. There's other countries that have even less access to the PS5. This is probably more for other countries than, say, like the US or Europe.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like you can't even like buy a PS4 in a store right now. So yeah, they're not like making this for GameStops or Best Buys.
Well, honestly, it's almost hard to buy any console period at the store other than the Series S, apparently. So,
I mean, the Switch you can usually pretty reliably find, but that's old. So, of course.
Right. Well, I mean, that's probably still going to go for another couple of years, especially now the estimates that are coming out of 2024 for the next Switch.
Yeah.
So,
but like I said, I just wonder if okay, let's say like the PS4 uses. This is a dumb example, but like let's say it uses 2 semiconductors, and the PS5 uses 4 of those. Like, why would you take away from the PS5 product, product for that, or what the cost for that,
Yeah.
I mean, if it has no shared silicon, that's one thing, but it does. Like, it's not like the PS5 is a completely new technology. So, but
yeah,
I mean, they'll probably sell these units out pretty quick. So, I'm sure they're like, whatever, fine.
Yeah, there will still be people that will buy them. But I understand Microsoft's strategy as well. Just, hey, we're really going to make sure that we produce these newer systems. To be fair, I think that strategy has worked because I always see people saying, "Oh, I just got a Series X," or "I got a Series S," or whatever. Whereas I don't really see that many people. I mean, at least in my bubble, right? In our bubble of gaming Twitter or whatever, I constantly, at least once or twice a day, see somebody that says, "I just got a Series X," or, "Oh, hey, here's my Series S." Very rarely, like every couple of days, I might see someone that goes, "Oh, I finally got a PS5," and then like a week later, they're showing you the picture where they got it. So like. That's the thing, is the ratio between the two is still very not close as far as how often you see a PS5 to how often you see a Series system. I don't know why that is. Don't know if it's Microsoft is using more of their money to make sure they can buy chips or whatever that is, but very interesting how that's going for both the consoles right now. How much of a shortage it is, and how much it's allowing the Switch to constantly just obliterate everything in every country, especially in Japan, where they're like outselling even the PS5 by like, I think it's 5 million to 1 million or something like that. The last time they showed the sales, so yeah, it's crazy to see. How much this is also benefiting Nintendo in a way as well. But yeah, just figured we might as well start there, since that's the one that's gotten a lot of people's ire this week, about arguing about whether or not it's a good idea for Sony to continue to be producing PS4s, or if Sony's I guess it's coming from that whole, oh, well, we believe in generations thing, and then all of a sudden everything has been for PS4 as well as PS5, but it's smarter on that end. But going towards other things involving Sony, a lot of Sony stuff this week. PS Now cards are going to be removed from retail in the UK. They've already been removed from the USA. So if you go to a store now, you're not going to be able to go buy a PS Now card in the actual store. This is leading to, according to Jason Schreier Bloomberg and a few other folks, this is basically telling you, okay, Spartacus is for sure going to involve PS Now and PS Plus coming together in one package. What it is beyond that, we still have no idea, other than the whole 3-tier system. And supposedly the last tier involves the retro games. More interesting, I think, Mark. And, this is something that was supposedly going to be one of the big rumored things about the PS5 when it first got announced. Everybody was us talking about it. Like, I even said, oh, if this is really a thing, I think I might buy a PS5 like that day and make a bigger effort of making sure, I got it on launch. Was the rumor of, the PS5 would be able to backwards compatible play everything. There are reports now that Marc Cerny has apparently figured out how to make that possible. Do you think that this could be part of Spartacus, of allowing more backwards compatibility to be available? Perhaps, I don't know if that's going to be natively or not, but
that's the thing. If it's a native thing, then they're being greedy,
right?
But if it's a like server based or like virtual machine type thing, then they have to.
Okay, so like the big reason why you have to stream PS3 games, right, is because of the engine.
Yeah, the cell chip. Yeah,
the cell chip. So apparently, Marc Cerny has come out, with perhaps a workaround for that. Do you think that means now the PS3 games will become downloadable, making the whole retro experience, I guess, even a bigger, thing for people, like to be able to say, okay, well, now you can definitely, and let's say they go backwards and give you PS1 games as well. You have PS1 to PS4, and all you got to do is subscribe to this thing.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is if it's a server thing, then you have to pay for it,
right?
But if Marc Cerny just wrote a PS3 emulator, in his garage, and they're making you are charging you to use it, then that's the greedy part. Because they could just release that as an app or whatever, and go, hey, if you had a PS3, if you still have PS3 discs, you can put them in, or you can just start buying them from us.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, but since we're already on the topic, do you think that there's going to be anything special in the Spartacus thing besides just combining PS Plus and PS Now? Is there more discounts and on PSN? Is there
PSN,
more games? Yeah,
they already do discounts with PS Plus. Like, it's not
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, are they going to add more games to that discount? Are they going to make the discount bigger? Or
I imagine it might be more tiered. Like, if you have just regular PS Plus, you get 10% off. But if you have like the full tier, you get 20% off or 30 or whatever.
Right. Okay. Like, you don't think that they will? Like, I don't know if Sony already kind of does it with PS Plus, but do you see them doing the same thing like Microsoft, where, oh, hey, they're maybe, I guess, like they do with PS Now, right? Where at the beginning of the year, beginning of each month, they announce like 3 or 4 games that are being added to PS Now. Do you think it continues at that clip, or do they start announcing more? Do we start seeing them actually really try to compete with Microsoft on that end, where it's like maybe 10 games or for the whole month instead of just 3?
No, well, I doubt it, because the difference is, the PS Plus games never go away. Like,
right, but okay, so like they do the 3 for PS Plus, but they also announce like 3 or 4 for PS Now that get added to that service, right? So PS Now is, I guess, what's comparable more to Game Pass, because PS Plus is still technically the games for gold equivalent. Like, stuff doesn't go away. PS Now, we just never really hear when stuff goes away, because you don't have people paying attention to that as much as Game Pass. But like, do you think, like, let's say if you want to compete with them on a bigger level, do you think that they'll go after, like, okay, the 2 things that we have in the dock, right? Rainbow Six Extraction and Hitman Trilogy are both coming to Game Pass day and date with the releases of the trilogy and then Extraction the day it comes out. Do you think that Sony will do stuff like that with the Spartacus or whatever they're going to call that?
No, because I don't think Sony cares that much about it.
Okay. So you think it's really just going to be a smashing PS Now and PS Plus together?
It won't be like
retro.
It won't be like the AAA or like the like the mainstream types of games. Like they don't give it. I doubt Sony gives a fuck about Rainbow Six. So it'll be like stuff like Rocket League or Onrush or like more indie titles that might benefit from a wider audience. But I don't think they care about getting like the most recent AAA game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair too, right? I mean, a lot of what Game Pass has is also indies.
Yeah.
It's not just getting the. I mean, they've been doing better about getting the big AAAs and being able to do that, like getting 2 of them the same day. For launch, that's pretty big. You also got another one of the big indies as well the day before. Nobody Saves the World. So from Drinkbox, who made the Guacamelee games and Severed, and then a few other things. So I'm excited for that game as well coming to there. I do wonder if Sony will use some of their exclusives or their like say had a Jet the Far Shore come out during the time where there was a Spartacus or a Solar Ash. Would they have put that straight into Spartacus instead of only buying it? That would be an interesting thing to look at as a way to get people to perhaps subscribe to that. Do you think the pricing tiers are going to be similar to what we have with Game Pass, or do you think perhaps they charge more for, if there's going to be 3 tiers? Do you think that they're going to be charging, let's say, 20 or 25 to get the whole experience?
I imagine 20, but I would think that would highly depend on how much old crap they're actually going to offer.
Well, I mean, let's say that they just offer everything that's in PS Now right now, right? That's 800 games or plus, right?
Yeah, but no one cares. I mean, not many people care about that, as you can tell by the PS Now popularity.
Yeah.
But no, if they said, okay, if you have this Spartacus thing, you have access to an emulator that can run any PS1, PS2, or PS3 disc-based game, and we're also going to start selling you old games as well, then I'd sign up day one. But if it's some piecemeal, we only have 10 games backwards compatibility, who cares?
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
and like Microsoft can get away with that, or I wouldn't say get away with, but their emulation is piecemeal, but it's free. So yeah, I don't expect every game to work, or the license every game. Right. But I think they should have done, and I always said this, is if you can't sell games, I can understand if you can't sell a game on their service, like Def Jam Fight for New York. Like that game has like a lot of licensed music in it, obviously, and celebrities and stuff like that. But if you have the disc at your house, you should be able to run that game.
Yeah.
That emulator can run that game just fine. It's just you can't license it to sell. But it's like, well, I already got it once. I'm not going to buy it again necessarily. But yeah, I don't think Sony's going to do that anyway. So,
right, fair. So to ask this question, because it's going to be something that people are going to bring up, obviously, the major component of why Game Pass is pushed so hard is that it gets day one releases of Microsoft Studios games. Obviously, Sony is not going to go that route. Do you think that they'll have like a time frame of when you would see, say, a Horizon Forbidden West or a God of War Ragnarok show up? Do you think there's like let's say in 6 months you'll get this game on the service, a year, or you don't think they'll do any of that? It's based on sales and whatever. There's no actual. You can kind of expect one every a certain time time frame.
Well, I mean, they have done both. They have offered like Horizon Zero Dawn for free, even if you weren't part of PS Plus. It just took like 3 years.
Right, that was part of that when everybody was at home thing.
And they've tried. Sony has tried occasionally to do like essentially like starter or like the stupid God Hand game does that, where it's like not the full game, but it's like a pared down experience, or like
Drive like
Club.
You get like, let's say you get to do like a trial, like the first 5 or so hours.
Yeah,
like the EA Play thing, basically. So you think it could be like that, where you get to try out any of these big games for a certain amount of time, and then, well, you have to buy it to get the rest of it.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, at a certain point, you should know if you're going to buy God of War or not.
Right.
Like,
no, but that's what I mean. Like, okay, so not day and date, but say, okay, I don't know what they're going to announce in this announcement whenever it does get announced. I mean, the only thing that supposedly we know is that it might come out in December. So whenever it is, at whatever state of play that they decide to announce this thing at, do you think that they'll be like straight up just say every 6 months you can expect the first party game to hit into Spartacus? Or they're just not going to mention that at all, and it just becomes something that we figure out by.
I think it all depends on the game.
Right. Okay.
Like if the game is popular, then no, they're not going to offer it as part of Spartacus because it'll keep selling. They want to make sales off it. They're not stupid.
Right. Okay.
But if it's like Drive Club where it didn't sell at all, then they're gonna
maybe in like a couple of months it's already on there.
Yeah, or like this new Gran Turismo game, which also won't sell.
Oh, it'll sell. There's people that love Gran Turismo, and they've been waiting a long time for that. Now, to be fair, the last one that came out with still didn't sell as well as I think 6.
That's the problem. Is like Gran Turismo. Like Gran Turismo used to be a very much a flagship franchise, but the PS4 ones, no one cared, and even the PS3 ones, people cared kind of, but I mean, even those were like not as good.
Yeah,
and it doesn't help that Forza is like literally eating Gran Turismo's lunch every day. Like,
right, and then there's gonna be another Forza.
Yeah,
the actual one that competes with Gran Turismo directly.
Yeah,
coming out this year. So. But it'll probably be, if it does come out, it'll be around the same time.
No, it'll be Christmas or Thanksgiving. Yeah,
November. Yeah,
but I mean, it'll be much more of a case by case basis with them. Like, even if Spartacus launched tomorrow, they're gonna go like, oh, God of War Ragnarok will be day and date. It'll be like, no, at least a year from now, you might be able to get it. But that's about it.
Yeah. All right. I mean, like that's an interesting thought on that too. I mean, so another thing that doesn't really have to do with this, but it's something else that's come up now because God of War coming out, yesterday on PC, and it's selling well. It got up to like I think 50,000 concurrents playing God of War on Steam, which is a pretty big number for a game that's already been out. So. Do you think that we already have Uncharted at the end of this month coming, the collection, the Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4? Do you think that this starts a snowball, and with the story that came out that Cory Barlog and other Sony developers have been pushing and pushing and pushing Sony to release their games on PC? Do you think that we start seeing Sony lessen the window of when these games come to PC? Or is it always going to be 2 or 3 years?
I think it'll always be 2 or 3 years, at least 2 years.
You think so? You don't think there's ever a time where they say, oh, you know what? I think we need to start closing this gap. We're really making some money with this. Like, let's make it 6 months, a year. I don't think we ever get to that point.
No, because I still want people to buy it for the PlayStation console first. And if it's
it doesn't necessarily hurt console sales, right? This is just another revenue stream.
It will hurt console sales in the long run because if that's your expectation. Why would you ever buy PS5?
It's still a year to wait to play a freaking awesome game like God of War Ragnarok. I mean, that's a
But
long time to wait.
not really. But I mean, that's the thing is, it if the time frame is lessened, like it's only 3 months for a Sony game to appear on PC, as opposed to 2 or 3 years, then yeah, I just wait. If I had a good enough PC.
Well, I went ahead and asked a poll of people on at least on that follow me on Twitter, and this was the actual final number. I mean, it still has the whole day, so this is going to be probably bigger by the time we get to the end of it. But might as well look at where it is right now. Dang it! Why I had it here. Either way, it looks like there's now I don't know. I mean, this is probably a lot of hopeful people, right? Not necessarily always looking at it from a perspective of this is what I think will happen. So right now, with 33% of the vote, you got day one. You got 16% saying 1 to 3 months. The smallest amount is from 4 to 6, and then the winner right now is 6 to 12 months. So the majority of people are saying that they feel like it might get lowered to anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I have people that replied and said the same thing as you. 2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years would still be the normal for most of these games. Right now, to be fair, they are putting in games that are super old, so right now they're not having to face they still have plenty of games that they can put out and get money for. But with these sequels coming, right, the Horizon Forbidden West, the God of War, Gran Turismo is one that people like to play. You think that so you don't think at all that they ever just say, you know what, it's been long enough. By the end of the year, Horizon's out there on PC.
No, because Sony values having a console, and like Microsoft doesn't.
All right, that's fair. Just thought I would ask that question. I do think at some point that they lower that gap. I think at some point we're going to get to.
I mean, it might
maybe a year.
I would say 1 to 2 years at bare minimum, but 2 to 3 is much more likely.
I think they do eventually lower that gap to at least a year. Like by the time you get to that next year, they're already going to be releasing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if, say, by the time we get to January next year, they're promoting Horizon Forbidden West being going to show up on PC pretty quick.
Well, we can mark this episode in timestamp down, and
okay, we'll mark it. Episode 298, an hour and something in. I said for Horizon Forbidden West should be announced for PC and showing up at some point in 2022. We'll definitely see if that's what happens. But yeah, let's move on from there. Death Stranding Director's Cut's not going to come to PC. Speaking of course, that was always had a PC port, and nobody had the regular PC port, so that's not that surprising. A lot of people have been enjoying Director's Cut. I was listening to the Game of the Year Fire Escape cast, and
I was into it too.
Dan was saying that he really he was pushing so hard to make Death Stranding Director's Cut available for a Game of the Year choice, and
until Mary rightfully shut that shit down.
Yeah, until Mary shut that down, as should be done. It's not really a 2021 Game of the Year if you're putting in games that are from other years.
Also, the fact that he vehemently hated it when it came out, and he's well, not now. This one adds a stupid bike you can drive around. It's like that's not.
Of course, it makes the game more fun, though, right? So it's not. It takes away some of the concept of the game, but it did make the game more fun. So I guess that's something. But speaking of a game that also had a director's cut, Ghost of Tsushima sold 8 million copies, and this drew the ire of Jeff Ross, Days Gone director. because he noted that Days Gone has sold more than that, and Sony made them feel like at the time, I guess we've noted this before with Square Enix about how they've almost every one of their Western games they talk about how it doesn't sell well enough. Sony made them feel like 8 million wasn't enough for Days Gone, and that they did not want to continue with a sequel. And then he's gone on to actually give some verbiage about what would have been in the sequel for Days Gone. I mean, as somebody that played it, Mark, and liked that game.
I played both those.
Well, okay. Well, I'm saying, okay, you reviewed Days Gone. I remember you having issues with it. Would you have been in for a sequel? Have you read that thing that he talks about, what that he would have added to the game and everything else?
Not really, because he's like, oh, you can have neurotech, or he's like, oh, you can find old technology.
Yeah, the neurotech.
Who cares? You're still riding around a stupid bike. You're still playing like a lame character.
That's the thing that he said would for sure be kept was
I mean, I don't know about you. I read this as him being incredibly petty.
Yeah, he even put down some of the team as well, which was weird to me. Like, why would you put down your team at that point?
Here's the thing is okay, Days Gone. Let's say they sold the same amount. Let's say it was 8 million, even though this guy says Days Gone sold more. How much did each game take or cost to make?
Yeah, well, I mean,
he doesn't talk about that. He didn't say like, oh, Days Gone cost 40 million and Ghost of Tsushima cost 60, and that's why, we should get a sequel. And also, you have to look at critical reception. Like, hey, sales are important, but they could make a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima a lot more. People would want that a lot more readily than some stupid, biker zombie game.
Yeah, I mean, that's also that hurt Days Gone a lot as well. It did not have the greatest critical reception when it first came out. There was some jank to it and everything.
Also, I think Ghost of Tsushima told they can do a sequel and they probably will, but it told a very ultimately self-contained story. Like Days Gone literally ended like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, because he always had the intention of making what he says would have been the definitive edition or definitive version of Days Gone and making a sequel.
It's like, why didn't you put that in the first game then?
He says he ran out of time, right?
I mean, that game got announced a while ago. So, I mean, I think it took him at least 3 or 4 years to make.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was got announced in like E3 2016. So it had at least like you said 3 or 4 5 years to be in development, but I don't think that's really comparable. I can see where he's coming from and saying that I'm upset because you're making me feel like, oh, we sold that much, but you didn't make us feel like it was a big deal, and actually it is, so
again, my response to that would be sales are important, but also critical reception is important.
Right.
And your game wasn't bad. It was merely average, or it had a few interesting ideas, but they were ultimately kind of screwed up by worse, other bad ideas. So Ghost of Tsushima is not like the best game ever. It's not a perfect game, but on the whole, is a much more enjoyable experience to play.
Right. So hoping that we're going to have something enjoyable to play on the PlayStation VR 2. We did get a feature set for the PlayStation VR 2, and I thought there was some really interesting stuff announced here. In that, much different than the, let's say, PSVR 1, you don't have to have you don't have the camera separated. The camera's inside the headset, so everything you do, you move your head, everything has to do with that. There's no me having to figure out where the camera is, and it's much more freeform, but it does still have that single cord. It's not wireless.
Yeah.
At least it's not the whole mixture of cords that
the first one we had the breakout box.
Yeah, exactly. They announced that it's going to have the 4K support, and I think like 2000 by 2000 in each eye. And there was I did the whole news for it on Outer Haven, but that was like 2 weeks ago at this point. Did you see anything in the PSVR announcement that makes you feel like, oh, maybe they're going to support this more? It's worth the investment as opposed to the first one?
I mean, not really, because they only showed like the one game, or like
right, the Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, the one thing that made me kind of not wonder, but kind of scratch my head at was like the haptic feedback in the headset. That sounds awful.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be good or not. It was a little bit frightening. I think the whole, you're going to be able to hear a bullet whoosh by your face, and you're going to be able to feel when, like you're saying, that somebody's punching you or whatever. Is that going to be a great experience?
Yeah.
For anyone.
It's weird because I think like VR is not doing too well right now.
Yeah.
Like there are Oculus comes out the occasional game for it, but you don't hear about a ton of other.
I mean, it is really Oculus and Facebook pushing it because of the metaverse and all that. Facebook's really pushing it.
Yeah.
I don't really hear much about the Vive anymore at all.
Oh no. I mean, they'll make it, and Steam VR is still around, obviously, but like, I think Valve is done with VR as like a platform.
But do you think this Horizon game is going to be an actual game, or you think it's going to be like the Batman game where
it'll be that, or it'll be really dumb?
Because that's what it seems like to me. Like, okay, what you're showing me is, for one, you're not Aloy. Number, you're somebody else, right? I assume Aloy might be somebody that takes you through the game or whatnot, but it seemed like it was more focused on, look at these machines, how big they are, all that. It's not, well, you're going to be taking these down.
Or to be like, explore this old city with your focus, or that stupid AR thing that Aloy has.
Yeah, or maybe it's like a gameplay section. It's not an entire game. It's, you kind of get guided through the different parts of Horizon, like the different things that you can do, but you get to experience it in a VR, which would essentially be a different way of experiencing that. I don't think it's going to be like Resident Evil 7, having that whole experience, or Resident Evil 4, which hopefully that gets put into that gets put into the new VR. What I've heard talked about a lot is it feels like they're going to be more open this go around. It's not going to be in this enclosed environment where it can be only Sony studios or these third parties only making things for PSVR. Like, they might actually have ports, like a lot of people talking about Half-Life Alyx. Do you think that could really be happening?
I think it has to. Like, they got away with it the first time because like there wasn't like a big VR ecosystem,
right?
Or it was pretty nascent back then. But like, if they tried to say now, like, we only have, Moss 2 and Iron Man VR 2, it's like, good luck, because if you don't have like at least most of the Oculus Quest storefront, or Steam VR stuff, then forget it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, you're going. I mean, even though you're going to have these experiences, right? Call the Mountain, whatever. Who knows if Sony Studios, aside from maybe having another Astrobot, or we know there's going to be another Moss, like, how many of these studios are going to once again be making games for VR? Are they going to be better experiences than what you already had on PSVR 1? Other than obviously they're going to be looking better,
I think the fact that the head tracking is all in the camera, or like
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I never got my. I mean, I know you have one too. I never really got my PSVR to work correctly because I have so limited space in my room.
Yeah.
Like my Quest works fine because it's all there's no camera, so of course it's fine. I can just
Right.
use it wherever. But
That's what I like too, because where I'm at, I actually have a much bigger living room space. Um, I didn't have that until after I had already sold my PSVR before we moved. So I never really got to experience it the way you should either. I also didn't have the wands, so I couldn't play things like that I know I would have loved, like Beat Saber.
yeah,
So the fact that you're going to have controllers that are made for this thing, it's the PSVR 2 Sense controller, and it's gonna have the same things like you said that are in the Dual Sense controller. That's a plus to me. Like that's something that makes me excited to finally I can finally play some of the stuff that I didn't get to play the first time around, or play those type of experience with PSVR. Plus, I had the space to move around. And you can have a better sense of awareness that you don't have when you're having to play everything towards a camera that's sitting there stationary. So those are pluses. The one I did ask this as well on Twitter, but I accidentally erased it because I had to redo the poll because I had put it in a different way the first time. I think I'd gotten like 30 or 40 responses by then. But how much do you think this is going to cost? That's my biggest question. Is we bought it when it went on a sale around Thanksgiving, I think, and it was like 250 or something like that.
yeah.
And it had Astrobot and Moss in it. There was people telling me that they think it's going to cost us the same as the console. It's going to cost $500.
No, I
Like,
think at max 400. I could see them trying to hit 3, but I doubt this technology in mind they could.
I would love it if they could hit 3, but I would hope that they stop at 4. Because if you make it the same price as the console, you're asking people to essentially buy 2 PS5s.
Right. I mean, if I could see them doing like a bundle, like 300, just the base thing, 400 to get like a few games.
Yeah, I could see that.
It won't be 5. I mean, the Oculus Quest isn't even 500. It's like, I think that's actually 300. So
yeah, that's the thing is they have a lower price competitor in the market, and these are great specs, right? But are they better than the Quest? Or are they?
I mean, they're better specs technically, but it's always like weird trade offs.
Right. Okay.
Because also the Quest is a year old, so
True. Do you think that actually comes out this year? Because that's another thing. It's supposed to come out this year.
I doubt it, especially with all these chip shortages. Like, no.
I wonder if it has to use those chips though, because why would you even have this in production if you know you can't even make a PS5?
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that perhaps it's not using those same chips then.
Well, it has to use some of them. I mean,
yeah, I mean it has to use some, but I can't imagine it has to use the full suite of them, because why would you even announce it if you know you're not going to have enough to even produce a fleet of these?
I mean, they could just be announcing it like way early and say, "Hey, it'll be in stores next year."
Yeah, it could be,
Because
but
they only sold one game too, so
well, we still got the whole year to. That's CS, not E3. So I mean, you still got the whole year to announce stuff and then say, "Oh, it's coming out in November or October or whatever." I just feel like with all the stuff going on right now, I don't know that it's going to wind up coming out. I think it'll wind up getting pushed to 2023, but
yeah,
we'll see. I don't think they've already said they don't see the chip shortage getting better. And the problem is it's not just the chips, it's the stuff you make the chips out of.
Well, yeah,
are starting to become extremely rare to the point where I think China is only one of the only places that has it. Period. So by the time, and there's people that are starting to try to make those on their own or whatever, but by the time you get all that stuff going, it'll already hit another year or perhaps 2.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they actually announced PSVR 2, or I mean, if they said it'll be out this year, that's way too soon for the That's not even like less than 2 years for the console. So
yeah, I mean, how many more people are really going to have PS5s for that point too? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of something that we know is not going to be happening in 2022, at least in the physical sense, E3 has been canceled again for in-person events. It will. We actually don't know right now if it's going to be digital or not. So, do you think there's going to be? I do think there's going to eventually be an announcement of a digital E3. I think they did what they could last year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's very similar again. I don't think it was a catastrophe last year or whatever, but there was obviously, all those companies that we had problems with their presentations. Do you think that eventually that this means like at some point we're going to see the end of E3? Like, do you think it's just going to be Jeff Keighley eventually? It's Summer Games Fest is the new E3, and that's just what it's going to be, or?
Not necessarily, because I mean, the ESA still wants to put on a big show,
right?
And he's decidedly not part of the ESA, so
yeah, definitely not.
I mean, I think eventually E3 will come back. What was it last year or the year before they did that stupid summer of
releases? No, last year it was only the 2 weeks or whatever. Okay. The year before is where they had it was like 4 months.
Yeah, that was the awful thing.
Yeah.
If he tries that shit again, I'm gonna like stab him.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see it become that again. I think he learned his lesson. I think it was too much. It was a ridiculous thing to think that people are going to be sitting there wanting gaming news that often, that much. And I will say that I thought it was going to be a good thing, and it wound up not being, because it was way better than having a 2-week thing where very much like E3, where everybody kind of does their thing, what's coming, and that's it. Yeah, I don't know. I would think that E3 is still gonna be around and do their thing. They may wait till later to announce it, but I can't imagine they're just gonna cancel it and not have anything. It would be very weird to not have any of that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have it. I mean, even when they did that strip down E3, like 20 years ago or 15 years ago, that no one liked.
True. And one more thing we know is not happening for the time being. Stalker 2 has been delayed till December 8th, 2022. It was supposed to come out the end of April. Now it's taking the same release date as Halo Infinite last year. I mean, this would make it a Xbox exclusive until 2023 now, because it's a timed 3-month thing. I like shooters. I was obviously going to play this, I guess, but it's not a huge deal to me. I mean, obviously they're a smaller independent company, so
Stalker is not a shooter. Like,
well, they have shooting elements, but that's the thing. Well, they made a big deal about the guns for this one. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, the biggest deal that they made was, how real the guns are.
Yeah, so, but it's try one of those older Stalker games sometime and see how well that plays.
Yeah. Well, my point was, either way, it's not coming for a while. I mean, I think the NFT thing didn't help them at all.
Yeah, that didn't help.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure that they were already kind of knew what was going to happen in development, but that doesn't help you when a thing that you thought was going to be your revenue source now is you have to cancel it because you have so many people getting angry about it. So
my helpful tip for that would be don't do dumb shit. So,
well, tell that to Troy Baker.
Yeah,
Marc, because Troy Baker decided that he needs to go do a voice NFT with VoiceVerse, where you will be able to well, he said he's partnering with VoiceVerse NFT because he wants to explore ways where together you can bring new tools for ID new creators to make new things and allow everybody a chance to own and invest in their own IPs that they create. Voice first claims, like, imagine being able to create your own customized audiobooks, YouTube videos, and e-learning lectures, or even podcasts with a favorite voice that you own. Yeah. For one, isn't this kind of trying to do away with voice actors, right? Like, so if you record something and then somebody owns that, and then you can keep using it.
It's like now I own the Joel voice from Last of Us.
Yeah. So like I own this now, so you got to pay me every time you got, like, even though it's not really owning it, it's also, you're not necessarily hold on. I got someone calling me here. I don't even know where my phone is. Here, if I knock everything over.
Yeah. But
well,
yeah,
you got. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's all dumb. Like, NFTs were stupid to begin with, and then the idea that you can just own someone's voice or own someone's vocal character is incredibly stupid, and would put him out of a job.
Yep, exactly.
It's like now I own Christopher Sabat's Vegeta voice, so no one else can. He can't use it anymore, and anyone who watches Dragon Ball Z now has to pay me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I think the thing that was bad about this is the way that he made the tweet. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, create or do nothing? Like, it's like,
yeah.
Like, all right, man. Why are you just being this way about it? Like, it doesn't help you. Or you can hate or you can create. It's like, dude, you know what you're doing. You know the state of the gaming industry right now against the NFTs. You're not anybody new. You're the same guy that went to the Washington Post and wanted to start a petition to remove their negative review of, was it Last of Us? So, like, don't sit there and act like you're trying to be better than everybody else, and know that you're not coming at this any different than anybody else's. And that's the biggest problem with NFTs, is everybody is coming at it the same way that nobody wants them, because you already know what somebody's going to do. Sega had they had already applied for a trademark or whatever for Sega NFT, and then they canceled it right off. And then Square says, well, forget that. We're actually going to explore NFTs. We're going to explore microtransactions. We're going to explore all of that stuff. And, so it doesn't matter. We're still going to have this. And it's like, wow, man. Way to read the room, I guess.
Well, at least Sega has the brains to not do a dumbass decision, but Square is plowing ahead.
Yeah, like, Square is a company that they make Final Fantasy VII. They know what that game stands for. Then we're going to do the absolute opposite of that. But still, I get it. All these companies want money, and but this is not going to be the way to do that. At some point, the blockchain is going to go down, and NFTs are not going to be. They're going to be a thing people are going to be talking about. They're going to be a thing that almost every company is going to try to put in some way. But until somebody comes in and tries to do it differently and actually show you how you can do it, I don't think it's going to work. And I think the worst thing also is the Mike Shinoda thing. I don't know if you saw that, where
I did.
He tried to tell everybody.
He's like, why can't you use the same gun skin in Minecraft and Call of Duty and Battlefield and a whole bunch of other shit?
Yeah, I mean, this makes it makes no sense to me how you're gonna have developers to say, hey, you can put everybody's thing in everybody's game all you want. you know, and it doesn't matter. They're gonna somehow make it work for you because you own this NFT. Like, really? So how does that help EA to put their game or put an Call of Duty NFT inside Battlefield?
Yeah.
When they don't get to make anything off of that.
Right. And it costs them money to make it because they have to make sure, whatever Call of Duty skin is compatible with the EA game. Yeah. It's like, wow.
It doesn't make any sense. And the faster people realize that, and stop coming at it the same way. Like, the thing was that Mike Shinoda sitting there having developers tell him how this doesn't work, and then he keeps on and on about it.
I did see one where I think an animation guy went through like a 30 tweet thing about how it's dumb, and then Mike Shinoda was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it took that to him to finally like realize, you can't do this, right? Like, it's so weird that these people that know nothing about what that is keep thinking that this is some pie in the sky thing that's going to make you money. And then the funny thing where you have these guys that get their NFT stolen, right?
Oh,
and then people show you how dumb it is because, I can just save that picture and I own that picture too. Like, you just own a receipt. You don't own the picture.
This is what I tweeted. This is a bit ago, but I said, what would you rather have? An NFT of the Mona Lisa or the actual painting, like which has actual value?
Yeah, this is crazy to me. I think sorry, there are people that are bringing groceries into my apartment here, so I turned off the camera.
Like the only people that actually care about NFTs are like the NFT like dude bros. It's not actual like
the crypto bros and the NFT dudes and it's like, again, when that stuff ends, they'll eventually realize that doing all this stuff with the blockchain, nah, man. At some point, you guys are gonna realize that stuff's just it's a fad that will go away. And even if it ever does become implemented into games, it's never going to be received well. I don't know that people are going to be able to stop it all the time. There's going to be a big company like Ubisoft. There's going to be a big enough company that says, we don't care what you guys think, the gaming public at large. We're going to go after the whales that don't care, just like in mobile games, right?
Yeah.
They're going to do that. They're going to be like, look, we don't care. It's about our money. We're the one making the games. You want to keep playing our games? You got to deal with this.
And people will just go, nope, we're good.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be a company like Ubisoft or somebody else that's big enough to know, hey, guess what? You're not going to be able to stop us from doing it. And then who knows? Maybe that's Square Enix after that. Is that somebody else after that says, and then that's the way it gets implemented. An Activision or EA or whatever that says, and then eventually, once one company makes it okay, it starts becoming a thing where it doesn't matter whether people get mad about it or not. You're going to do this, and I just think that, unfortunately, we're going to have this problem where eventually someone's going to make their way in and we're not going to be able to stop it. So as much as I hate to say, we might want to learn to live with it because this is going to come up the entire year. We might want to start learning to live with it. Not to say that you shouldn't go after people that want to do it, like with Stalker, like with Sega, like with so many others.
Well, Sega stopped it. So good on them.
Yeah, but we'll
Konami
see if Square Enix and Konami already sold them, right? Konami sold one, which is what is it of
Castlevania
that they made like $26,000 off of or something. It's ridiculous. But like, see, that's the thing. That's what people are going after. You find that crazy person that'll pay for essentially a picture $26,000. Like, that's nuts.
Almost with someone as crazy to pay $4,500 for a pair of headphones.
At least those headphones work.
For 5 minutes.
But they stopped working after that too?
No, the connector still works, but I mean, like the audio is reversed now, and he's already returning them.
That's nuts to me.
But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's nuts to me that it's just like it's like a piece of Dracula's castle pixel art. That's what's gonna go for $26,000, folks. Like, come on.
I mean, I bought that Castlevania thing from Limited Run. I ordered one like yesterday. The $200 one.
All right.
But hey, I'm actually getting physical shit. So that
again, yeah, but you're getting something for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the point, is you're getting something for that. So but yeah, sadly we're gonna have to keep talking about this thing, so get ready for it. I think the last thing we're probably going to talk about here is the Take-Two buying of Zynga for $12.7 billion. That's with a B. And I mean, it's amazing to me. Don Matrick has come full circle of having this company, and then gets to sell it off to Take-Two. Take-Two apparently is still looking to buy things. But they want to take basically their franchises that you know and love. Know and love is a relative term, and put that onto mobile, basically. Yeah, so your Borderlands, your GTA, your BioShocks, I guess, your all that.
I mean, you just listed two franchises that are already on mobile.
Right. But I guess to find other things, like I guess find a way to make them into social brands or, whatever.
I mean, the problem is also like, GTA and XCOM and not XCOM, GTA and BioShock are on mobile. Yeah. I don't want to play those games on a mobile device. I know you're into that shit more than I am, but like I'd rather play a game that is tailor made, that is a much smaller game or bite-sized game.
Yeah.
And hey, we ported BioShock 2 to the iPhone. Go play it there. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that's really going to be well.
I'll play a game that is made for mobile.
Yeah,
I don't want to play a game that's made for unless I'm playing it through the cloud, and that's just the way I'm playing it. But I don't want to buy a game like, okay, my favorite game of all time. The only two places you can buy it aside from a DS port is mobile or PC. I own the PC version. I played it, here and there.
You might want to name the game.
Chrono Trigger. Yeah, sorry. So, they've never put that on Switch or on any of the other newer consoles, right? So, if I wanted to buy that on mobile, because let's say that they said for some reason or another it was never going to come to any of the newer consoles for some legal reason or some other reason, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy that, right? Or playing Fantasian, which is Miss Walker's, like, it's supposed to be a really good game. I don't have an iPhone, so I can't get Apple Arcade. I'll play that, right? It's made for the phone. But I don't want to play a console game on the phone. But this is what they're alluding to, right? They're trying to take these franchises and make these phone-only games for console, for your phone, to make these like special phone-only games, like the WWE card games and all that other stuff that we see a bunch. Like there's a Madden Mobile, all that. Yeah. They want to take those franchises and make them into something.
That is a bad idea, though, because Zynga's not like a great developer for that.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to making like Farmville and things like that. I mean
they do make Supercard, like WWE Supercard, but like that's not a game. We're gonna play like GTA Supercard. I play my level 4 Cloud against Cloud Sped or whatever the hell the GTA 3 guy's name against your level 2 guy from GTA San Andreas. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's dumb, but if they want to buy a company that won't really help them out, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Zynga's been buying developers for that, so they've been trying to improve their.
You mean Take-Two?
Yeah. Well, no, Zynga's been buying mobile developers in this time frame before they got bought by Take-Two. They've been trying to buy other like developers to add to their whole like suite of, I guess, mobile game makers. And I think that's what they were trying to build to. Basically, they were trying to get big enough to where they got on somebody's radar, and they got on Take-Two's radar, and they got bought. So, I think this is great for Zynga. And I think I'm thinking of like the AstraZeneca thing, but either way, I think this is a great, like, I don't know, we don't really know until later how big a deal this is for Take-Two. I think
the only game that like Take-Two makes I could see, or that they have that could be like a good Zynga game might be like Bully.
Yeah, I mean, like the 2K game being on mobile could be helpful. People wanting to play mobile basketball.
I mean, they have that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you can make more spin-offs of that or whatever, but I don't know exactly what games necessarily they're looking for to do, or they're just trying to make another kind of mobile GTA or mobile Borderlands or whatnot. But even if they make these, like, I guess, remember when Marvel had all those different Facebook games,
right?
They're trying to do that, and those kind of did well for a while.
Not anymore.
So yeah, not anymore, because most people, a lot of people aren't on just Facebook playing games anymore like that.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. Again, I think this is going to be something that we're just going to have to wait and see how that's going to go, as far as what this means really for not Zynga necessarily, but for Take-Two in the long run. There is that Fallout TV series is still happening. So
yep, they need to cast Ron Perlman.
Yeah, and it's going to be on Amazon Prime. They're the same ones that are trying. I don't know if they actually sealed the deal, or they're still trying to go after a deal to get Mass Effect as a series as well. So I guess this is the new hot thing. Everybody's gonna go after a video game and start trying to make it into a TV series like The Witcher
or Halo.
Yeah. But I mean, the Halo one was in before all this stuff, right? It was just in like development hell.
Yeah.
So like The Witcher kind of made people be like, oh wow, this can actually happen.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah. TV shows are much better medium for video games than a movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because you can flesh out more of the story that way. The movies are okay if you're going to tell your own story, I think, or something like Uncharted that's basically already a movie.
Yeah,
but or if it's something that doesn't really have much of a plot, like Sonic, I guess. But anything that has some kind of lore, it's always going to be better to have a TV show.
Like Warcraft or Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, or Assassin's Creed. But even Ubisoft has started not caring so much about that lore. So,
yeah. Well, they made Ubisoft made that good movie last year, that werewolves movie.
Oh, wow. I lost Marc. I didn't realize it because I was looking at a different page. Okay. Well, I guess we're done then because I don't know if Marc lost internet or what happened. But all right. Until next week, we'll see everybody later.